Childhood in wartime, a stark contrast. When people talk about childhood, they often recall memories of laughter, toys, school days, and carefree afternoons. But for those who grew up during wartime, childhood was something else entirely, a time not of innocence, but of survival. I still remember the sound that haunted our lives, the wailing of the air raid sirens. It pierced the sky like a ghostly scream, a signal not to run towards shelter, but to run for your life. Every time it rang, our little legs would dash instinctively toward the bunkers. There was no hesitation, no confusion, only fear. We didn't know whether we'd still have a home standing when we came out, or if someone we loved would make it back. There were nights when the sirens cried more than we did. We would huddle in the dark, cold shelters, holding hands, our eyes wide open, waiting for silence. But silence didn't mean safety, it meant the bombs had found another target. Sometimes, in the stillness after an airstrike, we'd hear distant sobs, see shadows stumble out of smoke and fire, and feel a heaviness in our hearts that no child should ever know. Our dreams were interrupted not by bedtime stories, but by the rumble of explosions. Sleep didn't come easy in underground shelters where the air was damp and thick, where every creak or thud above could mean disaster. We lay on cold dirt floors, with a single oil lamp flickering, whispering lullabies to one another, pretending everything was fine. That was our childhood comfort, but what struck me most was the silence afterward. Not just the eerie quiet after a bombing raid, but the silence that followed us even as the war ended. We didn't talk about it, maybe we couldn't. Maybe we didn't know how to describe the fear of running barefoot on sharp gravel, or the sight of neighbors digging through rubble to find their loved ones. We buried those memories somewhere deep, in places no words could reach. Even now, years later, the war lives on in us, not in the scars we can show, but in the ones we can't. I've seen men jump at the sound of fireworks, seen them grip their chest as if reliving a blast from long ago. These are the invisible wounds, the ones that never made it to the history books. Some of us became soldiers, carrying rifles instead of toys, orders instead of dreams. We grew up fast, too fast. And when we returned, we weren't the same. Some came back, but never truly returned. I know a man who was once a commander, now he lives alone, speaking only to the portraits of his fallen comrades. Another wanders the streets, silent, lost, unable to find his way in the peace he once fought for. War didn't just steal our childhood. It rewrote it. It gave us stories we never wanted to tell, and memories we never asked to keep. And perhaps that's why we tell them now, not to relive the pain, but to remind the world, behind every war are children who lost their chance to be children. Part 7. Pain is not the enemy, it's the greatest teacher. Most people run from pain, it's the instinctive reaction. Pull your hand away from the fire, avoid the sting, numb the ache. We've been conditioned to believe that pain is a sign of weakness, a signal that something is wrong and needs to be eliminated as quickly as possible. But what if I told you that pain is not your enemy? What if, just for a moment, you saw it not as a curse, but as a teacher? Let me take you back. There was a time in my life when I thought I had everything figured out. I was chasing goals, checking boxes, pretending I was okay when I wasn't. But then, life hit me. A loss. A failure. A heartbreak. I was crushed, and in that moment, I did what most people do. I tried to escape. I distracted myself. I blamed others. I denied the pain, but it stayed. It lingered like a shadow in every silent night, echoing in every thought I tried to silence. Until one day, I stopped running. I sat with it. I let the pain speak, and what I heard changed me forever. Pain whispered truths I had ignored for years. It told me where I had been hiding from myself. It revealed the lies I'd been living, the masks I wore, and the dreams I had buried out of fear. It stripped away everything superficial, until only the raw, real version of me remained. That's when I realized, pain is not here to destroy us, it's here to awaken us. It's the fire that forges our character. The silence that amplifies our soul's cry, the wound that reveals where healing is needed most. Think of every great story you've ever heard. Every hero. Every legend. Every transformation, behind every strong soul. There's a storm they survived, there's a pain they faced, head on, and learned from, so why are we so afraid of it? We've been taught to medicate, to distract, to run. But healing doesn't come from avoidance, it comes from presence, from looking pain in the eye and saying, I see you. I won't run from you anymore. Teach me. And that's what I began to do. I started writing again. I started talking to people, not with a mask, but with honesty. I began working out, not to look good, but to feel strong inside. I rebuilt my life, not on empty achievements, but on values that meant something real. All of it, every change, every shift, started with pain, and that's why I'm not ashamed of it anymore. I'm grateful for it, because the pain I once hated became the compass that led me back to my truth. So if you're going through something right now, don't numb it, don't run, sit with it, ask it what it's here to teach you, because when you truly listen to pain, you might just find the strength you didn't know you had. You might rediscover the fire that's been waiting to rise within you, and one day, you'll look back, not with regret, but with gratitude. Because pain, when faced with courage, becomes the doorway to power, not just any power, but the kind that no one can take from you, the kind that grows from the deepest parts of your soul. Pain is not the enemy, it's the greatest teacher you'll ever know. Loneliness, the journey back to yourself. Loneliness, it's a word we're all familiar with, yet one we try to avoid at all costs. We fill our lives with noise, distractions, and people, anything to keep us from being alone with ourselves. But what if I told you that loneliness is not a curse? What if, instead of running from it, you leaned into it? What if loneliness was the key to finding the most important person in your life? I used to fear loneliness. I thought it meant something was wrong with me. I thought it was a sign of failure, an indication that I wasn't enough, so I filled my days with distractions, with obligations, with the constant hum of activity. I stayed busy, I stayed surrounded, but the truth was, I was still empty. I was still alone inside. It took a while for me to realize that what I was running from was myself, that I thought that being with others would fill the void, but I had learned, through years of running, that no one else could do that. No one could give me the peace I was looking for, because I was chasing it outside of myself. The only way to truly feel whole was to stop running and embrace the silence. And that's when I began my journey back to myself. It wasn't easy at first. Loneliness is uncomfortable. It forces you to face your thoughts, your insecurities, and your fears. But once I stopped resisting it, something incredible happened. The silence started to speak to me. It wasn't the terrifying void I thought it would be. It was a space, a sacred space, where I could finally hear the whispers of my heart. I began to understand myself in ways I never had before. I saw the parts of me I had ignored, the dreams I had buried, and the truths I had been too afraid to face. It wasn't the terrifying void I thought it would be. It was a space, a sacred space, where I could finally hear the whispers of my heart. I began to understand myself in ways I never had before. I saw the parts of me I had ignored, the dreams I had buried, and the truths I had been too afraid to face. For the first time, I stopped looking for answers outside of myself. I began to realize that I was enough. I always had been. Loneliness, I learned, was not a punishment. It was an invitation to reconnect with who I truly was, an invitation to let go of the lies I had been telling myself about needing others to complete me, an invitation to reclaim my own worth, my own voice, my own story. As I sat in this space of solitude, I started to feel more alive than I ever had before. The emptiness I had once feared began to transform into clarity. I discovered the power in being alone with my thoughts, my desires, my dreams. I began to build a relationship with myself, one that was rooted in love and acceptance. It wasn't that I didn't value the relationships in my life anymore. It was that I learned how to love myself first, so that I could give more authentically to others. I stopped looking for validation, stopped seeking approval, and started standing firm in who I was. And that's when my relationships with others began to flourish in ways they never had before. You see, loneliness is not the absence of others, it's the absence of yourself. When you're afraid of being alone, you're running from the most important relationship you'll ever have, the one with yourself. So, if you're feeling lonely, I want to encourage you to stop and embrace it. Don't see it as a sign that something is wrong with you. see it as an opportunity to reconnect with who you truly are. The journey back to yourself isn't always easy, it's messy. It's raw, but it's also beautiful, and in that journey, you will discover a strength you never knew you had. You'll find peace in places you've never thought to look. You'll discover that, when you stop running from loneliness, you find a power that's been waiting for you all along. You are enough. You always have been. Loneliness is just the space where you get to remember that. So when the silence comes, don't be afraid. Sit with it, lean into it, and let it guide you back to the most important place in the world, yourself. Because when you truly know who you are, when you've come to peace with your own heart, the world around you shifts, the noise fades, and you realize that you are not alone at all, you are whole. You are enough, and you always have been.